إنجليزي، فرنسي, English, French.
كيفك انت؟
I did most of the presentation in English, and I think most of us speak English. So if you want, I'll just proceed in the whole other thing. So as most people speak English, I'll proceed with the presentation in English. So the whole presentation is about pharmacy and very basic stuff. And if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask, please. So I don't know if this is, I don't know if you can see, but what is exactly pharmacy? So I gave the definition of it in French, and in English it's basically we make sure that we give the right medication at the right dose, at the right way, to the right patient. And we have to make sure that we also monitor all the drug therapy for patients who consume them, be it in the pharmacy or in the hospital, for example. So we have the reserved acts that are for pharmacists is not limited to this necessarily, but it includes this, is that it's to dispense a medication which can only be dispensed by a pharmacist or a veterinary, for example, for animals. And it's basically dispensing the medication, preparing it, and also monitoring the whole treatment. So I'm giving basically the whole of what actually the practice of pharmacy, what it actually is, so that people who don't have any, just as an brief introduction to what it is. So for people who have not determined what they want to do, it's an inspiration for them. And I'm going to be making it as concrete as possible so that it gives a concrete way of what to achieve and what to look for. And even if that's something you want to pursue or not. So what exactly regulates our work as pharmacists? It's the college, it's the Quebec College of Pharmacists, which is in French, L'Ordre des Pharmaciens du Québec. And what this does is that and I'm also giving you some practical ways of how to go around, for example, the pharmaceutical industry or the whole pharmacy practice. So the OPQ, it protects the public. It's not necessarily pharmacists. And inspects their workplace, inspects our work, and on the same time, people can submit complaints to the College of Pharmacy, and they would inspect or push more investigations. Every pharmacist has to be subscribed to the order of the College Pharmacy of Quebec. So how do we classify drugs? And this is very interesting because this is make sure, for example, how we have to monitor at which how regular, the frequency that we have to monitor. So we have the federal system and we have the provincial system. The federal is classified as prescription for PR, C as for controlled, and N for narcotics, and CT is produits ciblés, which is targeted drugs, controlled and targeted drugs, which includes benzodiazepines, which is, for example, sedatives, or just anything that can be used for recreational use as well. As for the provincial, it's basically the equivalent to what is used in the federal system is the Annex 1. So whatever is in the federal which is classified, it's Annex 1 in the provincial system. So we have Annex 1, which is, for example, that includes everything here. Annex 2 are drugs that are for humans, but they have to be behind the counter. So you can find, for example, you go to the pharmacy and you want something that is a stronger specific cream for a specific skin condition. You will not find it in the front, but you will find it behind. But you will still need to ask for it, and you don't need a prescription. If you can have a prescription, but it's so that it becomes covered, but at the same time, you just have to hand it in. You just have to ask for it, and they can dispense it for you. They will just have to ask you a couple of questions to make sure that it's something they can give you. in certain situations which is not indicated or it's dangerous for you, for example. That's the next two. You don't need a prescription, as I mentioned. And next three is that you're going to find this in any pharmacy that you go to. How would I describe this? Is that basically this is the counter where we actually work, and we have all this section. Let's say that these chairs, it's the section in front of the pharmacy. Behind those two pillars, you would find some sign that limits the pharmacy from the rest of the whole store. Whatever is here, that includes the Tylenol, the Advil sinus, and everything. You would see in that limits by, for example, the name of the pharmacist and the pharmacy. This is also in under the pharmacist surveillance. That the pharmacist there, he was always on the lookout on who's getting that specific medication, and who's in any way he can see, for example, the elderly, he would sometimes intervene in himself. Whatever is outside that region, is not considered the pharmacy. Whatever else is just the store. So that's Annex 3. Annex 4 are all the drugs for animals but require a prescription. This is only a veterinary that can prescribe this. Annex 5 are whatever is behind the counter, but you don't need a prescription for animals. No annex is all the drugs for humans, or let's just say for anybody, and they're on the counter in the aisles, and they can include in the pharmacy section or outside, and they can be sold anywhere. For example, we can find some Tylenol, but not necessarily in pharmacies, but anywhere. For example, in Walmarts. So when you hand in a prescription, what exactly happens behind the scenes? Well, some people think, okay, why does it take so much time? Just to give you an idea of, for example, which places a pharmacist can intervene, and he basically looks out for all of this. Just the more concrete it is, the more you're inspired to say, yes, that's something I want to do, or no, you say, you know, maybe something else is more interesting for me. So you hand in your prescription, we put it in the system, so that we ask for your allergies. That's very important because it's our responsibility. And everything makes sense, and according to your whole file, if everything, for example, we evaluate if it's something that can be discussed. But usually this is not at this point, but that we actually intervene as pharmacists. But all of this are technicians who actually do this. So when they hand in the prescription, they enter in the system, they can put it on the side if a person is only specified to carry this operation only for that person. It can wait. Another technician can prepare this, and they count the first time for a specific class of medication. Number 2 is not obligatory. It's only for specific drugs. Remember, these are the drugs, for example, controlled drugs, narcotics, that we have to hand in the exact and precise number of pills. We cannot give more, because if we give them more, they can abuse them. That's not something we want to do. So, and then we have verification. This is mostly a pharmacist's job, because we have to make sure, here's the thing, we don't intervene at the beginning, because it's not very time efficient, not necessarily, let's just say that it's the best time where we can actually intervene, and we would see, for example, is this the first time he's taking an antibiotic? If it's the first time, okay, we ask him for which reason. If we ask for allergies, we'll look up for these, because as soon as the prescription leaves, the medication leaves our pharmacy, it becomes our responsibility. It was the last place where before the patient started taking any medication. So our responsibility is to see with the doctor, for example, how did he calculate that dose? Why did he choose this? Why did he choose this? Why did he consider something else? It's all these we have to take into account. And at one point, if you see, for example, it's the second time he's taking antibiotic, okay, why is there's something maybe wrong here? Did the patient, did he continue taking the whole treatment before? These are all things we question ourselves. And we make sure that at the base, is this the right medication, the right dose, for the right patient, and we have to make sure that it's the right pills. That these happens, that we see these mistakes. These are things we look out for. And then this is where actually after that we verify, and then we hand it in. can wait on some shelves until people can actually pick up. So what are types of prescriptions? So you have written. This is the most common one. This is what we are most aware of. We have written prescription. The doctor prescribes it. He writes it and he hands it to you. That's very nice. Then you have which one? You have the fax. Oh, let's go with verbal. For most of the prescriptions, if I can go back, prescription class, yes, we can actually dispense prescription verbally, controlled under certain conditions, and narcotics and controlled, it's very sensitive. Controlled and targeted drugs, that we can prescribe verbally. But the rest, if it exceeds a certain number, for example, a certain dose, then that's where it becomes very picky, and we have to ask for specific more. We require a written, for example, or a faxed prescription. It's not something we can actually do. So that's the verbal. We just want to make sure, for example, any person who calls and says, you know what, I'm a doctor, I will prescribe this, and I have the license number, you can serve it. It's made easy, but not that easy. And we have the fax. This is very important. It's also very convenient, but some doctors, they don't choose to do this because they want to evaluate. But if you can, for example, if somebody has been diagnosed with a disease, they can just ask, can you just renew it, for example. These are just things that to make convenient for certain people. Some people might not know this. But just to say, these are mostly things that we intervene on. People come in, we have to evaluate as pharmacists. We say, you know what, is this something I want to do? Do I want to communicate with the doctor and say, I will send a fax to the doctor so that he can renew it, or that he will prescribe you this, or without even having seen you. If not, we send them direct to the doctor, or then we actually intervene on many occasions. We look up for these kind of errors. We ask for a different prescription. All of these requires a lot of judgment. So what do we exactly study? Now this is for exactly what you see. Okay, is this something that interests me? So the first one is, I don't know if you see this, but it says physiology. I wrote it. Physiology is exactly how the human body actually works normally. So we study the normal things, the things how they are supposed to go smoothly. This is what we expect. And then we have the lab courses. So we practice acting situations. What if a patient comes in and he has this, and that? As we go starting off first year, and I will go on the other years, we have very simple cases. There's a transfer this, there's a this, there's a can you receive this kind of written prescription? Can you have this fax prescription or this verbal prescription? It's all these very simple stuff. And we also learn the details of, for example, we memorize the details of drugs. Now, we have social sciences, communication courses, just to see, for example, how to communicate with certain groups of patients. But mostly what interests people is the sciences. Basically, when I was, before in college, I was, at one point, we consider, why didn't I go, for example, engineering? Okay, it's very nice. I was in sciences. So here's the thing, I didn't have the chance to exactly mention my career path, not my career path, but my study path, how I actually got into pharmacy. I was going to explain exactly how to go in, to get into pharmacy, or to how you want to consider it. I don't know if I'll leave it to that time. But just in general, I think I'll discuss about it later, just about the time when I say, all the procedures to do. But basically you have organic chemistry, biochemistry, it's quite related. But we don't study them specifically in a course in itself. It's very integrated in most of the classes. So they've done a reform. This wasn't necessarily the case before. Before it was very simple. You study basically only organic chemistry. You only study biology. You only study the I don't know if there's anything else at that time that they did, but I was we were among the few who, starting off really recently, we're now doing the whole thing is very integrated with all all the body systems basically. Now, drug forms and formulations. This one really helps so that we know exactly how, which medications can be administered this way or not. It requires a lot of judgment, and by doing a lot of practice and doing a lot of exercises based, we'd be surprised. As students, the most important thing is doing a lot of practice. So especially in the first year, it's very abstract. We would think, okay, why am I exactly studying this? But at one point, we realize, now I look back and I say, I'm grateful, alhamdulillah, that I did some, that at least I studied this more in depth, because now I realize how important it is. Some people might not realize this. At one point, it creates some, motivation-wise, it's not easy, but it's very important, especially the first year. So at the end of the first year, we take the immune system. Why? Because that's where we actually do our first internship by the end of the summer. At the beginning of the summer. And this is when allergies act up. So when we go in the pharmacy, we do consultations and we ask them, okay, so what do you have as symptoms? Can you describe this and this and this? And this is basically the class in itself, and we integrate it with the lab courses. We basically, it's across the semester, and across the first year, and all the other years, the lab courses, and we integrate whatever notions we learn in those classes. So and then the second year, what do we study? It's other lab classes and communication skill classes, and we say jumping from immunology, we take hematology, nephrology, gastrointestinal, cardiology, physiology, the whole rest, as you see. And I put them in order of where we actually study these. So as you see, this oncology was the most complex because it has very, it creates some buildup. Oncology, for those who don't know, is basically a study for cancer, for the youth. I wasn't very actually before it maybe go. No, I didn't learn this until later. Psychiatry is a study of the whole psyche of mental issues. Eventually, it requires some level of maturity as we need to go through these systems. Fixology is integrated more or less in all the semesters, just in general. Endocrinology, this was a bit interesting. They did a lot of reforms in the system, in the whole, in the program. So, for example, endocrinology was in third year at one point, and then they made it second year. This is where they realized, because, for example, by the end of the second year, we do a hospital internship, and then we say, endocrinology, we need diabetes. We need to know how we take care of diabetic patients. Okay, we'll put them by the end of the second year. And this is basically, that's it. And eventually, all of this helps us for the fourth year, where we do all internships in 2 pharmacies, in 2 hospitals, and 1 optional one, which is not basically we don't choose what if we do or not study, but we choose where we want to study. Hospital, industry, university, project, and the faculty. These are just choices. So how do we get into pharmacy? So now I'm just going to basically on my path of how I chose to go into pharmacy. And in high school I was very interested in sciences, all classes, very interesting stuff. Math, physics, okay, but at one point, okay, maybe physics, it was later in high school. But in general, aiming to becoming a bit, curious in some matters, mostly. But, starting physics, math, chemistry, biology, especially biology by secondary 3, which was very interesting when I just had more interest in sciences. By secondary 4 and 5, I didn't know exactly, okay. I started to grow interest in maths, physics, okay, chemistry. Then I realized that in college, but I still knew at least that I would do a science program. That's what at least but for sure, one thing, a very important thing, that I mentioned that I would like to mention to all the youths, is that I would not have been able to know exactly what to do, to have some encouragement if it weren't for my older brothers, who actually gave me a lot of inspiration. I had a lot of time to discuss with them. If you think it's easy knowing what you want to do, believe me, it's not. And just the fact that you're attending here shows that you have some motivation. And they say, you seek the truth, you seek something, you shall find it. I think that's not related, but Abdullah, he mentions this. You seek the truth and you shall find it, and you shall have it. So among the things is that from life to everything, whatever you look up for something, you just have to, what we were discussing earlier, but you have to take the first step, basically. So, yeah, eventually in college, I went to Marinopolis College because I knew it was very interesting, different environment. A lot of people suggested to me. I discussed with many brothers. Then I took the health science program. Because what? Because it opens all doors. So for some people who are not sure exactly, just work on that. Maybe it's a bit vague. Usually, when I have the chance to sit and talk and speak with many others, I have the chance to take, I'm not an academic advisor per se, but I have the chance to at least discuss and see exactly what exactly like. But at one point, okay, I like physics, chemistry, biology, math. What do I do? So at one point, somebody I think told me that if you like biology and chemistry, take medicine or all that domain. So okay, that's very interesting. I'll aim for medicine. Here's the thing. In everything, even starting off from high school, I would, for example, aim for the best, and then eventually to get less. Okay, then you shouldn't be worried that much. So that's what I did. Okay, aim for whatever is very interesting. The most difficult or most complex is that medicine. It's a very complex medicine, but it's not to say that it's the best. It's just one of the most complex and requires a lot of some people say at one point. I ask many people. They say, if you want to do it for the money, please don't go medicine. You're just gonna get tired, and it's for nothing. If you want money, go do finance. That's where the money is. And this is from residents, doctors who told me this. So we have to be ready for this. Dedication as a medical student, or even resident, or even a doctor, in everything. And then when somebody eventually asking wrong there and there, he said, okay, if you like physics and math, go engineering. And I think eventually I've noticed this, which was very true. As the more I had a chance to discuss with brothers, they mentioned, I see exactly, and this is one. Older brothers, I sit down and talk, for example, okay, what do you guys study? Engineering. Oh, they would talk, calculus 1, calculus 2. And these are things, as the more we approach, the time, maybe at one point you say, the more I approach the time that we actually did these studies, it became more concrete that this is okay, this is something I want to pursue, this is something that I don't want to necessarily pursue. So, after finishing it by the end of the third semester, I had to apply, and I applied to McGill, for University of Montreal, University of Laval in Quebec, and the University of Sherbrooke. I applied for I put my first choice, I put medicine, and I put my second choice at University of Montreal, I put dentistry second choice, and third choice I put pharmacy. And in McGill I put physiology as my second choice, and I did University of Sherbrooke, I think I put pharmacology, second choice, first choice I put medicine, because here's the interesting thing I'm going to mention to you, and then you have University of Laval, Quebec, I think I put pharmacy, because only two faculties in Quebec, they teach pharmacy, University of Montreal and University of Laval, Quebec. So the interesting thing about medicine is that McGill has their own set of interviews. I'm not here to discuss about medicine, but in general, going through that process, and university and all the other francophone universities, they have their own one interview. So applying as first choice for all the other universities for medicine really wasn't a big deal. Just apply, and you do one interview, and that's it. So pharmacy was my third choice, and the reason why I didn't even consider dentistry was because there was a test. So the whole career, the whole process is not an easy coming to that decision, but eventually, at one point where sometimes not sure exactly why things turn out that way, But alhamdulillah, when I see doctors and all of their, all their, as I interact with them in internships, I realize, wow, it's a very dedicated, it requires a lot of dedication. It's not an easy program, but if people have the courage and they are willing to do that and just to have that very pure intention to help out other people, that's what keeps them going. Yani, they work very hard, and we give them a lot of respect, for what amount of work and the quality of work they do. Then that's it. That's something if you want to pursue, go ahead. But eventually, things how they turned out. I did the interviews. I just didn't get accepted. After doing interviews for McGill and doing all the French universities interviews at the same time, that's how they turned out. Alhamdulillah, I got in pharmacy, and I just noticed that it's a very interesting program. If you want to consider, I'll be glad to just answer all the questions. But going through this, how do you want to get in? For example, is you just go either from college or university. You need to have a diploma in études collégiales. So basically, natural sciences. That's what I did in health science, or arts, letters, and science, with specific requirements for biology and chemistry. The reason why I say this is I believe that I was reading through this today, but I always imagine that it's health sciences because it requires us to take some biology classes. But I think if some people meet those criteria for biology and chemistry, then it shouldn't be a big problem. So, or any other program, and they have passed on biology, chemistry, physics, and math classes. So does this include things like biology 1 and 2, chemistry 101, 102, 103. So for example, a person has done any other diploma in college, and they just do some university classes to have those classes themselves. They can apply, and or a person from university, they would have to have done a first cycle diploma at university, which is equivalent to a bachelor's degree that University of Montreal recognizes, and that they have passed these classes. Okay, so I finished college and I'm starting my university program. I'm studying first year, second year, third year. Can I still apply? Yeah, sure, no problem. It's as long as you have one of those diplomas, but they just would not consider any of those what you're studying. If what you're studying in university helps you, go ahead. It's gonna just boost your application form. And also they do what we did at that time was a psychometric test where they question you. For example, a friend of yours, he asks you for help. Okay, do you help him? Yes or no? Yes. And it's a series of 200, 300 questions, and you see, they ask you. And the most important thing is consistency. Okay, you help him? So they take into consideration so the test basically itself is they ask you, okay, do you help that friend? Yes. Then eventually they ask you, like for example, 50 questions more. Yeah, that same friend you helped him a while back, it's like the fourth time that you're helping him. Do you still help him? So at one point, you want to show consistency. Yes, I still want to help him because you want to show that at one point that you do care for that person and that you're not going to discriminate. Just a very simple example that I give to most people who actually ask me. And so, how do they evaluate? 80% grades, 20% that test. How many people apply? How many people are admitted? These are information you can find on the internet, on the website. All that information here. But it's kind of very interesting. It requires some consistency in college, and most people, college in itself is a very interesting, discussion in itself, but it requires consistency, and it's not impossible to get those grades. And this kind of gives hope to most of us. But at the same time, it's not an easy career path in itself. Sometimes the motivation of it, staying motivated, is the most crucial thing. But alhamdulillah, coming over, as I was discussing earlier, before, all these jasats, and one point, okay, no, this is not fairly recent, but the fact of always staying in touch with brothers, having the chance, it creates some barakah that we have the chance to interact, and also gets us out of that studying zone, which is good, but at the same time, we need to keep these, just out with seeing brothers and sisters, create some variety in our life. Which is, these are, these jalsat and Friday nights and this, so we maintain that, inshallah. So I was gonna basically, I wanted to give some basic information that I think are very important. For example, Tylenol, the conditions for fever and the pain that we can use. But the most important thing is don't exceed 8 pills of the extra strength. As for Advil, just the medical ingredients is ibuprofen, and the difference between this and Tylenol is the fact that it's an anti-inflammatory, and the most important thing is don't exceed 6 of this every day. And if you do want to take it with food. Aspirin in itself is also an anti-inflammatory, but we don't necessarily consider it for people who have, high age, because we don't want they are at risk of, because it has blood thinning properties. So people at risk, for example, falling. This is our things that we will look out for. We make sure that, for example, they take such drugs, they're at risk of falling, and then when they fall, they can either fracture or they can have bleeding, which is very important that we want to learn as much as possible. These are among the things that we can intervene on and give counseling. This is a long topic. I don't know. I have more time for this one. But Bill 41 is basically a new law that allows pharmacists to intervene on how to, for example, prolong a doctor's prescription, adjust a prescription. And these are we use this really, really rarely. I haven't seen this in my internships. These are very common. We have their conditions. Instead of people piling up, going to the clinics, you can ask, for example, most people, they come into pharmacy, I have this and this, what do I do? They ask, for questions, what can I use, remember that section I mentioned, what can I use here? And we tell them, you know what, this is something we can actually prescribe for you. Instead of you going to the clinic, this is something we can help. This I haven't seen either, maybe once, but this is mostly, we see a lot of this. It's either that you don't need a prescription, or that's something somebody had a prescription in the past, and we just basically prescribe the same medication of equal strength or less. Questions? Yes.
You said you did interviews for medicine or for pharmacy?
I didn't do for pharmacy.
Okay, so they accept only you submit only grades, nothing else.
Yes, 20%, 80% grades, and the 20% is a test that at that time we did on paper, but now it's online. For some people, for example, I mentioned the case, people who have, do you help that friend? Yes. Yeah, they ask that example, for example, that question 3 times. And by the time they see, you get a grade, some people, they either do really, really well on that exam, or people they don't do really well. The people in between, it's very big, they ask them for an interview. So it's not gray, it's not black and white. So there is some gray zone. C'est une bonne question. La cote, the R score is basically, the way I see it and when I understood it, basically in all college, is that your grade, what you get, French or English, it doesn't matter. You get a grade, and for example by 1, and all the people from other classes, other sections, they also get a grade, and they compare it to your class average, and they see if there's, for example, if you have, for example, let's say 90%, and the class average or all the other sections, and their average is around 70, there's quite a difference. So this shows that you are, you're doing very well. But some people, that's what they used to do, is that they used to go in the past, before they're having the R score, they used to go to colleges where they didn't have very good students, and they perform really well, they show that you're doing really well. But no, they actually, using the R score, I don't want to complicate it. It's just, they take into account, for example, what do you call it? The standard deviation. So it kind of creates some fairness into this, and they how do I explain this? It takes into account some statistical analysis, and then if you're, for example, 2 times the standard deviation based on some curve on all the grades, then you perform really well, and that gives you a higher score, and they take that average. For example, science classes, they take into account 2.66 credits, so they count more. So people who worry about, for example, gym or physical education, it only counts as 1 credit. So you don't need to worry compared to the sciences. So that gives people how to prioritize their management.
You can go ahead.
راح أسأل سؤال. إذا لازم حيخلص السجن بسنتين أو ما يصير يطول لحد 2 سنين أو ساينس 4 سنين.
لأنه الطبية لازم 2 سنين.
I think the question, I'll repeat the question in English, is do you have to complete college in 2 years? Because, for example, medicine, it requires to be 2 years. To my knowledge, no. Pharmacy, no, you don't need to. But for medicine, I think only McGill requires this criteria. Other French universities, they don't require that it be completed in 2 years.
Do the secondary 4, moi à cours maths SN.
Oui.
À la table de maths SN, est-ce que ça change beaucoup dans le collège?
De 2 façons. Un, c'est que tu vas être capable de bien comprendre certaines autres informations, surtout au cégep, surtout si tu veux choisir ce choix-là. Et deuxièmement, même si tu ne fais pas ça, tu peux faire ça après, soit durant le cégep, et pour rentrer dans ces cours, je vais montrer. Je n'ai pas mentionné exactement, j'ai pas mis la liste parce que je dis, ça c'est des informations que vous allez voir forcément. Ça, tu vois les cours de biologie, chimie, physique, maths, pour rentrer dans ceux qui vont te permettre de rentrer en pharmacie par exemple, ou dans tous les autres, il y a dans beaucoup d'autres domaines. Ça je mentionne pour que ça t'encourage à aller dans un programme qui demande un peu de tous ces cours de sciences qui sont un peu avancés. Mais pour rentrer dans cela, tu vas avoir fini en secondaire des cours qui sont un peu aussi, qui demandent un peu. Par exemple, maths SN, ou biologie par exemple. Nous, on avait ça, c'était STE, c'était durant la réforme. Mais l'important, c'est à chaque niveau, tu vas faire tes choix maintenant. Mais à tout moment, tu peux. Il y a des gens, à tout moment, tu vas voir des personnes qui vont faire des. Si par exemple, ils ont passé date, mais il y a toujours possibilité. C'est ça l'intéressant dans notre système éducatif. Tu peux toujours faire ce que tu veux. C'est jamais trop tard. Tu peux, j'ai manqué ce cours-là, je vais le faire. Ils l'ont facilité à un point que c'est incroyable. Mais en même temps, je le mentionne. Le plus que tu demandes ici, par là, tu vas voir, le plus important, c'est la motivation. C'est ça. C'est à force de, Inch'Allah, tawfiq min Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وأكيد أركز على هاي النقطة إن شاء الله لو وفقنا لهذا الشيء إنه أهلنا يدعونا que nos parents prient pour nous dans tous les aspects parce que ça requiert beaucoup de tawfiq. La motivation, ça inspire l'autre. C'est un cercle, pas pour dire vicieux, mais c'est un cercle positif. Tu crées du bien, ça te pousse à faire plus et tu fais de plus, ces personnes-là ils prient pour toi aussi, ça finit pas. فإنشاءالله الله يوفقنا هذا الشيء.
أحسنت. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أحسنت. يلا تفضل. لحظة ما خلص في القسم الثاني. اسم المايك ما يسمع ما يسمع ولا ماكو.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أنا راح أحكي ميكس عربي وإنجليزي. I'm second year student dental hygiene in the Al-Adeli college أدرس بالإنجليزي. شنو هو dental hygiene؟ إحنا هذا الفرع مش نعرف بلداننا يجوز إنه دائما يشتغلوا ويا الأسيستنت اللي مساعد الدكتور dental hygiene. نقدر هي تساعد الدكتور أكيد بس هي مو مساعدة. هنا الدنتال اسيستنت مساعد الدكتور غير شيء إنه ما عندها حق مثلا تحط إيدها بحلق المريض، يعني ما عندها حق تشتغل على بس تساعد الدكتور أو تساعد الهايجينست. يعني مرات الدنتال هايجينست هي عندها اسيستنت عندها مساعدة تشتغل وياها. الدنتال تشتغل وحدها بس بكبد لازم يعني لازم تشتغل ويا الدكتور، ما تقدر تفتح عيادة وحدها بس إن شاء الله يعني قريبا تقدر تفتح عيادة غير البروفنسز ألبرتا أعتقد حتى أونتاريو يقدرون يشتغلون وحدهم عندهم ما يفتحون عيادة بس هنا بعدها ما صار هذا القانون بس يشتغلون عيادة يحصلون فهي مو مساعدة يعني. dental hygiene هذا الفرع ترجمتها بالعربي إذا حد يستعرفون صحة الفم والأسنان. وهذا التعريف بالفرنسي إنه أكثر شيء شنو إنه يشتغل على prevention. شنو أحد يسوي يعلمون شنو أحد يسوي وهو يسوي علمنا إنه أحد ما يصير عنده مرض باللثة ما يصير عنده مرض بالأسنان. فالدنتال هاي شغلة وحتى يعني شغلة إنه إحنا نسوي حشو وايد ما يدرون دنتال هايجينست مثلا حتى الهدى إنه تسوي تقدر تحشي الأسنان يعني هي هاي جزء من البريفنشن جزء من شغلها. ف وشيء ثاني مثلا شنو الدنتال هايجين دائما الكومبانيز اللي يبيعون اشياء ما تقدر دائما تشوفون غاليه مثلا اكو اشياء دائما بس طبيب الاسنان تعرفون ما عندكم انشورنس تدفعون هواي فلوس. دائما الكومبانيز اكثر شيء يجون على الهايجينست لان الهايجينست راح يستعملون اكثر البرودكت. الهايجينست راح يقولون مثلا شنو توصون المريض يعني الكلاينت المراجع يجي شنو يشتري منهم يعني tooth brushes فركة الأسنان معجون الأسنان tooth paste شنو أحد يشرب كل واحد ما أدري إذا عندكم منو مسوي تقويم هنا braces كل واحد يحطوا مختلفة، كل اوفيس له جزء مختلف اشياء، فهذا حسب شنو الكومبانيز اللي هي الهايجينست اكثر شيء تختار اكثر من الدنتست، لان هي اكثر مختصة بهذا الشيء، اكثر دارسة عليه اكثر، كل سنتين لازم تسوي ابديت على معلومات على بريفنشن، انه شنو لازم نتعلم الاديوكيشن كلش شيء مهم. الدنتست هواي مرات ما يسوي education، هواي اول سنه من البروجرام مالتي تقريبا كل شيء كان على الاديوكيشن، انه شلون اول شيء نعامل ويا الناس كوميونيكيشن، خذنا هواي دروس على الكوميونيكيشن. ثاني شيء كل الطفل شلون تعامل الواحد اللي عنده الزهايمر، شلون تعامل واحد عنده مرض نفسي، واحد عنده مرض جسمي، واحد عنده كل واحد انه نتعلم كل شخص شلون نعامله وشنو مفيد للشخص. مثلا مو كل معجون اسنان مفيد لكم، ممكن مضر. يعني الهايجينست عندها هذا الشيء، تقرا معجون اسنان مثلا اذا تشوف الحلق تفتحها نسوي اسسمنت كل شيء، تقدر تقول هذا الشيء نوع هذا مو زين عليك، تسوي هذا الشيء احسن. ما بتجي هذا البروجرام اكثر شيء ببنات. ليش؟ ما ادري اذا هم ما يشغلون هواي رجال او هم الولد ما يقدمون هواي. انا بالسنه مالتي كان عندنا 2 ولد من 30 طالب، 2 هم ما نجحوا، بس هسه قاعد يكملون، وبس هسه دا يزيد اكثر. يعني مثلا صف هسه السنه انا السنه الثانيه، في السنه اللي وراي اجوا عندهم 6 طلاب ولد، اللي اكثرهم هم من هنا، يعني 2 منهم من هنا مخلصين السيجاب وجايين، بس 4 منهم من غير بلدان مخلصين شيء ثاني، ممكن اصلا دنتست كانوا وجايين هنا ما كانوا يقدرون يعدلون شهادتهم بالدنتست، لان لازم يعطون فلوس حتى يمتحنون ويعطون شيء، فهم ما يقدرون يعطون فلوس وما اكثر، عمرهم جزء شويه اكبر، فيجون يدرسون دنتال هايجينست حتى يشتغلون بفرعهم. ولا ما ادري الدنتست هنا اذا تشتغل لازم عنده لايسنس، فلازم يمتحن. عندي لايسنس مثل العراق مصر ما يفيد، فهم لازم يمتحنون مالت هنا الامتحان كيبك كندا، فهم ما يجون فيختارون طريقة اللي يجوز اسهل يجوا يدرسون هنا. فيعني اكو ولد، بس عمتها يجوز اكو هنا اذا تدرون اكو جندر بالانس بتشتغلون، يجوز انه الولد يحصلون شغل لان ماكو اصلا ماكو هواي ولد يدرسون هذا الفرع. بس نفس الوقت يجوز صعب للولد لان اكو اشياء ديتيلز، كل الديتيلز تنظيف الاسنان اللي ما تقدر تسويها احسن. فاحنا شنو نسوي؟ الاكس رايز ماكو هواي ناس يقدرون يسوون اكس رايز قانونيا يعني الراديولوجيست، الهايجينست، الدنتست، وبعد 2 سيرتيفيكت، لانه ماكو هواي ناس يقدرون. فاحنا دنتال اكس رايز واحدة من الشغلات اللي نسويها. ثاني شيء البرايدمنت، الكلينينج تاعهم ينظفون اسنانهم. ثالث شيء الاديوكيشن، شنو وين تستعملون، الحشو، الفلورايد، الماوث جارد، اللي تعملون سبورت تحتاجون ماوث جارد. هاي كل الهايجينز تقدر تسويها. تقدر تسوي تحت السن الكسر تحتاجون قالب وتحطون كمات الهايجينز، تاخذ المباشر تاخذ القالب بالسن مالتهم، فهي تدز المكان اللي يسووه. هاي جزء من اشغال الهايجينز. وين يشتغلون؟ الهايجينز يشتغلون اكثر شيء يشتغلون بالاوفيسز، تروحون تشوفون دنتست بالعاده قبل ما تشوفون دنتست تشوفون الهايجينز. ممكن هم وايد دنتست عرب ما عندهم هايجينز، ما عندهم اساسا يشتغلون مع حدهم. بس هواي من الخصوص كلينيك الكبار اللي عندهم هواي دنتست عندهم هايجينست هواي. فاول شيء هم يشوفون، هم يسالوكم اسئله، هم يسوون اسسمنت، يشوفون حالكم. يجي الدكتور مثل تفتحوا المستشفى
الرضاعة. هي تسوي هواي شغلات، بيجي الدكتور هي تعطي ريبورت شنو برأيها، والدكتور يعطي رأي شنو لازم التريتمنت، شنو العلاج، شنو الريكومنديشن الدكتور. فيشتغلون أكثر شيء بالأوفيسز دنتال أوفيس، أو أكو يشتغلون جزء منهم يشتغلون بالكلينيك، بالعفو CLC يشتغلون بالهوسبيتالز اللي عندهم اللي حصل الشغل يعني ويا الحكومة رواتبهم غير عن رواتب لأن ديتا برايفت، هاي الحكومة تدخل. قبل ما احكي انه احنا شنو ندرس، جزء من الاشياء حتى ندرس فارماكولوجي شويه، لانه كلش مهم المريض اللي يجي الكلاينت المراجع يجي للدنتال انه احنا نشوف شنو ياخذ، لانه ممكن ما نقدر نشتغل عليه، مثلا اذا ضغطه كلش عالي ممكن ما نقدر نشتغل عليه، إذا ما ماخذ مالته الحباية ممكن يعني ما لازم نشتغل، فلازم نعرف الأدوية، لازم ندري مثلا يا أدوية الداخل يا أدوية، هواي مرضى ياخذون أدوية بدون ما يسألون دكتور، وواي ناس يشوفون الدنتست أكثر ما يشوفون دكتور أسنان أكثر ما يشوفون دكتور العائلة أو دكتور. فواحدة من أشغالنا إحنا الدنتست ما يباوع مشغول عنده هواي مرضى، فالهايجينست إنه تاخذ وقت إنه تتأكد إنه صحة المريض. فإحنا ندرس فارماكولوجي، ندرس راديولوجي، ناخذ إكس رايز، ناخذ أشعات، ندرس preventions، ندرس communication. يعني الشغل أنا ليش اختاريته؟ لأن كان شيء أنا ردت أسويه، إنه communication، إنه أنا كلش إنه أريد شغل أشتغل ويا الناس، أحب البابليك إنه أتعامل وياهم، أحكي ويا الجهالة، إنه ما أحب بس أسوي شغلي وأروح. ونفس الوقت أنا أحب الساينس، أحب البيولوجي، فإحنا هواي ندرس على البيولوجي خصوص لأنه الحلق جزء من الجسم، صح إنه إحنا نروح الدنتست مثلا غير عن الدكتور، بس إنه هواي أشياء مرتبطة، هواي أشياء ممكن نشوفهم بالحلق، يقول له مثلا روح أكيد شوف الدكتور، أو مثلا خابر الدكتور إذا عنده دكتور عائلة نتأكد من إنه هو مثلا in good health، إنه ما بي شيء، لأن يعني كلش مرتبط، هواي أشياء مطلع، مثلا عندنا حباية ألسرز بالحلق، لازم نتأكد منها إنه هاي ما بيها شيء، مثلا هاي مو معنات، هسه كلش بشيء إحنا قاعد ندرس عليه على السرطان، لأنه هواي أسباب، إنه سرطان الأورال كانسر، سرطان يطلع بالحلق إنه منتشر، فإنه هو الهايجينست لازم تشيك الحلق، لأن هواي علائم تطلع من وقت بالحلق، فتقدر هواي ناس مثلا مدرساتي هنهم ما قالون إنه كم مرة مثلا مكتشفين أحد ما كان يدري عنده كانسر، فده بسرعة إنه مسوي ريفير للدكتور حتى يسووا له بايوبسي، يشيلون حتى يفتهمون هذا كانسر وتعالج وراها لأن من وقت كشفوه. هسه خليني أحكي عن الرواتب اللي أنا كان مهم لي قبل ما أقدم، صح مثل ما أحمد قال ما لازم حد يقدم شغله على مود الفلوس، لأن دراسة كش ما تدرس كش إنه صعبة. أنا برأيي دراسة ماكو دراسة سهلة. أنا قبل ما أدخل هاي كنت أدرس شيء مختلف تماماً، أدرس كمبيوتر ساينس، لأن كانوا يقولون أنت زينة بالرياضيات روح أدرس كمبيوتر ساينس. أنا زينة بالرياضيات، كنت دائما أحصل بي درجات زينة، أسهل شيء عندي، بس مو فد شيء أنجوي إنه هسه أروح مثلاً أحل، ما عندي كان هيك شيء. فمن دخلت كمبيوتر ساينس إنه حلو كان، إنه فاين، بس إنه ما جيت أتخيل إنه كل حياتي أنا قاعدة على ورا الكمبيوتر، أشتغل على الكمبيوتر وما أحكي ويا الناس. أحس إنه شغلة ما حبيتها أصلاً، إنه ما رديتها، إنه حبيت إنه أدرس ممكن programming على صفحة، إنه مهم فشي هم حلو إنه ما أحبه، بس مو إنه أدرس كان هذا شغلي. ما حبيت إنه أنا 8 ساعات 7 ساعات باليوم. فمن تقدرون تختارون شيء وحيل تفكرون إنه شنو ممكن تشتغلوا مدة طويلة باليوم and you enjoy، يعني نضوجون إنه في شيء تتونسون به. أنا الهايجينست ما كنت متأكدة منه، دخلت بيه هيجي، كان ببالي نيرسينج أصلاً، كنت سوي بلان على نيرسينج، بس ورا كمبيوتر ساينس درست هيلث ساينس سنة، وراها ما أدري ليش، يعني هو ما صدق ما أدري ليش قدمت على هايجينست، قبلت رأساً فرحت، ما تعدي بالي بس من دخلت فيه كلش حبيته، فالحمد لله لسه كملت. ورواتب اللي أنا أفكر فيها بوقتها لا قليلة لا هواي، حسب شنو تبون مالتكم، بس إذا تحبون الشغلة يعني don't think about salary، لأنه مو فشي مهم، بس إنه الأفريج بداية بكيبك 26، بس real experience أعتقد كيبك يوصل لحد 40 بالساعة، 26 بالساعة إلى 40 بالساعة. للبنات الشغل كلش زين، لأن بدون تشتغلون part time بدون تشتغلون full time. للولد هم I'm sure يعني you find a job. الانتليجنس كلش يردوا يعني. لأني 4 كوليجات اللي قريبة، إن 8 كوليجات هنا بالكبك يعطون هذا البروجرام، بس واحد إنجليزي اللي هو جانابت أنا أدرس فيه، بقية فرنسي ذني القريبات يعني. وشان تقدمون لازم طبعا هو تدرون كوليج you have to have إنه مالتكم دبلومة هاي سكول دبلومة، وأعتقد يبدون الساينس مالتكم شوي عالي، بس ما أعتقد إنه كل صعب. So this picture took just today, إنه صديقتي تشتغل على patients. No, it's not patients in any kind actually after. And قاعد تشتغل على عابر. وقلت له احنا نسوي education. أنا عم سويت presentations للأطفال daycares. فإنه كان لبسنا إنه بتشي فإنه education كلش مهم، مرات يدزون حسب واحد وين يشتغل حسب شنو، مرات أحد يدزون يسوي للأطفال، ممكن يسوي للcommunity، ممكن يسوي للناس المسنة. واللي يدرس بهيجي فرع أي فرع تكنيك إنه 3 سنين، هاي فرع 3 سنين، أي فرع تكنيك دائما they are close like family، لأن small group ما يقبلون هواي. إحنا فرعنا لأن clinic عندنا أصلا ما عندنا capacity إنه يأخذون هواي ناس، يعني إنه هم يصير fun، وهم الدراسة صعبة تصير مكثفة، تصير sometimes we have many courses، بس أرجع كل شيء صعب، يعني ماكو دراسة مو صعبة يعني فرعي صعب، كل شيء صعب، بس حسب شنو يعني حد يحب شيء ينجح به. And this is all the intelligent students last year. شكرا.
اللي تكمل يونيفرسيتي ورا هذا الفرع،
اللي تكمل يونيفرسيتي ورا دنتال هايجين، هذا كولج، فقلت من كولج 3 سنين، وراها رأسا حيقدر يشتغل. بس اللي يكمل بعد اليونيفرسيتي أنا مدرساتي كلهم كلمات يونيفرسيتي لأن مدرسات فكل واحدة دارسة شيء، واحدة دارسة dental science واحدة دارسة education واحدة دارسة science. بس مثلا بعد تدرس شن dentist مثلا dentistry يقدر بس لازم عنده غير science مثلا لازم عنده chemistry لازم عنده no you took all the biology here you take all of them here but in chemistry physics رياضيات calculus 2 لازم ياخذ ذني حتى يقدر يدخل dentistry بس اشياء ثانية يقدر يدخلها بدون education dental science لا يكون هذه يقدر يدخلها بدون بس انت تقدر تشتغل بدونه. اكو دنتال هايجين جامعة اسمه كيبك فانكوفر مانيتوبا اعتقد. انا سألت مدرستي انه اذا اكمل هذا وراها اروح فانكوفر ادرس اكمل. قالت لازم تدرسين سنة بعد هناك بس all repetition يعني انت ما يفرق يعني ما يفرق لك الا بعدين اذا تريدين تفكرين you want to be a teacher بس تقدرين تدرسين education ليش تروحين جامعة بس نفس الشغل نفس الراتب بس لان جامعة يعني you have to go يعني بس يعني
أحسنتم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
But they have to be behind the counter. So you can find, for example, you go to the pharmacy and you want something that is a stronger specific cream for a specific skin condition. You will not find it in the front, but you will find it behind. But you will still need to ask for it, and you don't need a prescription. If you can have a prescription, but it's so that it becomes covered, but at the same time you just have to hand it in. You just have to ask for it, and they can dispense it for you. They will just have to ask you a couple of questions to make sure that it's something they can give you. In certain situations which is not indicated, or it's dangerous for you, for example. That's the next two. You don't need a prescription, as I mentioned. And next three is that you're going to find this in any pharmacy that you go to. How would I describe this? Is that basically this is the counter where we actually work, and we have all this section. Let's say that these chairs, it's the section in front of the pharmacy. Behind those two pillars, you would find some sign that limits the pharmacy from the rest of the whole store. Whatever is here. That includes the Tylenol, the Advil sinus, and everything. You would see in that limits by, for example, the name of the pharmacist and the pharmacy. This is also in under the pharmacist surveillance. That the pharmacist there, he was always on the lookout on who's getting that specific medication, and who's in any way he can see, for example. The elderly, he would sometimes intervene in himself. Whatever is outside that region, is not considered the pharmacy. Whatever else is just the store. So that's Annex 3. Annex 4 are all the drugs for animals but require a prescription. This is only a veterinary that can prescribe this. Annex 5 are whatever is behind the counter, but you don't need a prescription for animals. No Annex is all the drugs for humans, or well, let's just say for anybody, and they're on the counter in the aisles, and they can include in the pharmacy section or outside, and they can be sold anywhere. For example, we can find some Tylenol, well, not necessarily in pharmacies, but anywhere. For example, in Walmarts. So when you hand in a prescription, what exactly happens behind the scenes? Well, some people think, okay, why does it take so much time? Just to give you an idea, for example, which places a pharmacist can intervene. He basically looks out for all of this. The more concrete it is, the more you're inspired to say, yes, that's something I want to do. Or no, you say, you know what, I'm gonna, maybe something else is more interesting for me. So you hand in your prescription, we put in the system. So that, everybody we ask for your allergies, that's very important. Because
English, French.
كيفك انت؟
I did most of the presentation in English, and I think most of us speak English. So if you want, I'll just proceed in the whole other thing. So as most people speak English, I'll proceed with the presentation in English. So the whole presentation is about pharmacy and very basic stuff. And if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask, please. So I don't know if this is, I don't know if you can see, but what is exactly pharmacy? So I gave the definition of it in French, and in English it's basically we make sure that we give the right medication at the right dose, at the right way, to the right patient. And we have to make sure that we also monitor all the drug therapy for patients who consume them, be it in the pharmacy or in the hospital, for example. So we have the reserved acts that are for pharmacists is not limited to this necessarily, but it includes and inspects their workplace, inspects our work, and on the same time, people can submit complaints to the College of Pharmacy, and they would inspect or push more investigations. Every pharmacist has to be subscribed to the order of the College Pharmacy of Quebec. So how do we classify drugs? And this is very interesting because this is make sure, for example, how we have to monitor at which how regular, at the frequency that we have to monitor. So we have the federal system and we have the provincial system. The federal is classified as prescription for PR, C as for controlled, and N for narcotics, and CT is produits ciblés, which is targeted drugs, controlled and targeted drugs, which includes benzodiazepines, which is, for example, sedatives, or just anything that can be used for recreational use as well. As for the provincial, it's basically the equivalent to what is used in the federal system is the Annex 1. So whatever is in the federal, which is classified, it's Annex 1 in the provincial system. So we have Annex 1, which is, for example, that include everything here. Annex 2 are drugs that are for humans. Is that it's to dispense a medication which can only be dispensed by a pharmacist or a veterinary, for example, for animals. And it's basically dispensing the medication, preparing it, and also monitoring the whole treatment. So I'm giving basically the whole of what actually the practice of pharmacy, what it actually is, so that people who don't have any, just as an brief introduction to what it is. So for people who have not determined what they want to do, it's an inspiration for them. And I'm going to be making it as concrete as possible so that it gives a concrete way of what to achieve and what to look for. And even if that's something you want to pursue or not. So what exactly regulates our work as pharmacists? It's the college, it's the Quebec College of Pharmacists, which is in French, L'Ordre des Pharmaciens du Québec. And what this does is that and I'm also giving you some practical ways of how to go around, for example, the pharmaceutical industry or the whole pharmacy practice. So the OPQ, it protects the public. It's not necessarily a pharmacy.